All right. Crypto, huh? It's got everybody talking. Is it the future of money? Or is it just a bunch of hype? We're diving into all of that today.
Yeah, it's a big question.
It is a big question, and we're using this article, Cryptocurrencies, Investment of the Future or a Bubble.
Hmm. Interesting.
So that should give us plenty to unpack, I think.
And it's a question that I think more and more people are asking these days. And it's really interesting how much this topic, I think, reveals about our sort of relationship with money and technology. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, before we get ahead of ourselves, though, let's make sure we're all on the same page. Imagine digital cash that isn't controlled by any bank or government.
It's up.
That's cryptocurrency in a nutshell.
Right. And that idea that decentralization is really at the heart of this whole crypto movement, which is a pretty radical departure from how, we've always thought about money.
Yeah, now this source dives into how that could be a game changer, especially for people who don't have easy access to traditional banking,
Hmm.
faster transactions, fewer fees, and that whole idea of cutting out the middlemen. It's pretty appealing.
It is. It's easy to see why some people view this as the democratization of finance. And we've even seen examples of this already with people in countries experiencing hyperinflation turning to crypto as a more sort of stable alternative.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
But like you said, it is a radical shift. And the source also talks about how this distrust in institutions like banks and governments is a big driver of the interest in crypto.
absolutely. And you can, even trace that distrust back to things like the 2008 financial crisis, data privacy scandals, all those moments where people just felt like the systems in place weren't working for them.
Right.
And so crypto, with this promise of transparency and control, offers something, kind of, an alternative.
So we've got this utopian vision, on the one hand, but then the source gets into the risks.
Yeah.
And let's be real, those Bitcoin price swings are enough to make anyone's stomach churn. I mean, one minute it's worth almost $70,000 and the next it's plummeting.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
But that volatility is a key factor to consider.
Yeah.
Unlike, established currencies, which are backed by governments and have centuries of history behind them,
Right.
crypto is still very much in its early days. And a lot of its value is driven by speculation, people essentially guessing what will happen next.
So it's kind of like the Wild West of finance right now.
In some ways, yes. And this source highlights how news and events can send prices skyrocketing or crashing down. Like, remember when China cracked down on crypto?
Right.
Or when Tesla said they would and then wouldn't accept Bitcoin as payment? Like, each one of those headlines sent shockwaves through the market.
Totally. It really highlights just how much influence external factors can have. Okay, so we've got the potential of crypto to maybe change the game for the better, but also this huge risk factor because it is so new and so volatile, a lot to wrap your head around. And speaking of making your stomach churn, this source also gets into those horror stories, right?
Right.
Crypto exchanges getting hacked, people losing access to their digital wallets.
Yeah.
Not exactly reassuring when we're talking about, the future of money.
Right. Security is a huge concern. And I think, unlike traditional banking, where you have these institutions and regulations in place to kind of protect you,
Right.
the world of crypto is still figuring out those safeguards.
Yeah, it's like you're your own bank. Which, sounds cool in theory,
Yeah.
but also like a little terrifying,
Yeah.
especially maybe if you were not a tech whiz.
And that's a really important point to emphasize. The level of personal responsibility in this space is significant, right?
Right.
And, this source does bring up those like strike it rich stories that we often hear,
Oh, yeah.
which definitely fuel the hype. But for every one of those stories, there's, cautionary tales as well, people losing big.
So, like, how do we balance that then? That excitement, like that allure of potential riches with like the very real risks that are involved, asking for a friend.
Yeah, well, I mean, the source actually offers some really solid advice.
Okay.
And I think a good place to start is by remembering the dot-com bubble.
Oh, okay. Right. Back when everybody thought any website with a .com at the end of it was like a golden ticket.
Exactly. It was a time of, just incredible hype and investment in internet companies,
Right.
many of which, had more enthusiasm than a solid business plan.
For sure.
And as we know, a lot of those investments went bust. And so, some experts are drawing parallels between that era and the current crypto landscape.
Interesting. So how do we avoid like repeating history? How do we tell the difference between the hype and the real potential here?
Well, The source really emphasizes the importance of education and due diligence. I think, first and foremost, only invest what you can afford to lose. This isn't about, uh, you know, getting rich quick schemes. This is about understanding that there are inherent risks involved.
Right. So don't like treat it like your retirement fund. Treat it like that, like, risky stock option.
Precisely. Don't go all in on something that you don't fully grasp. And then I think the second piece of advice, which I can't emphasize enough, is do your research. Don't just follow the hype or blindly invest based on what someone on social media is saying.
So no more investing based on what Elon Musk is tweeting.
Probably a good rule of thumb. Really dive deep into the technology behind a particular cryptocurrency. Understand its purpose, research the team behind it, look at the broader market conditions.
It's like any investment. Like knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
But it feels like with crypto, things change so quickly. So how do you even stay informed? It's true. It's like 1 minute you think you've got a handle on things, and the next there's some new development or some new buzzword taking over the internet.
That's the nature of a rapidly evolving space.
Yeah.
And I think, it really underscores why that ongoing research is so crucial.
So it's not enough to like do your initial homework. You've got to stay updated, which, okay, that makes sense. But it also makes this whole thing feel, I don't know, less like the Wild West and more like, I don't even know, uncharted territory. We're just exploring as we go.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. And speaking of exploring, this source also hints at something even bigger than just the current state of cryptocurrencies. It actually delves into, blockchain, the technology that kind of underpins it all.
Right.
And suggests that it could be as transformative as, the early days of the internet.
Okay, now that's a bold claim. I mean, like you hear people say that, blockchain is going to change the world, but this source actually tries to explain why.
Right, and it comes down to this. Blockchain allows for secure, transparent, and tamper-proof record keeping.
Okay.
So think about all the ways that, the internet revolutionized how we communicate and how we do commerce.
Yeah.
Blockchain could have a similar impact on everything from supply chains to voting systems to even just like how we verify our digital identities.
Yeah. Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. So maybe investing in crypto now is kind of like investing in those early internet companies back in the day. Like high risk, yeah, potentially high reward, but the underlying technology itself could be revolutionary.
Yeah, that's a really, that's a thought-provoking way to frame it.
Yeah.
And I think it circles back to what we've been talking about this whole time, which is just informed decision-making. In those early days of the internet, yes, some companies thrived and others crashed and burned. And I think the key here is, again, being able to separate the hype from the genuine potential, both in terms of, individual cryptocurrencies, but also just the underlying blockchain technology.
Well, this has been a wild ride. I, for one, am walking away with a lot to think about. Crypto, it's exciting, it's risky, it's definitely shaking things up.
Yeah, and that's what makes it such a fascinating topic to discuss, right?
Right.
It's this convergence of cutting-edge technology, financial speculation, and, even societal shifts.
Totally.
And, we're still so early on. We're in the early chapters of this whole story, and how it unfolds is really anybody's guess.
So for all of you listening out there, as you continue your own exploration of crypto, a final thought to ponder. If this blockchain technology really does live up to even half of its potential, what aspects of our lives might be transformed in the coming years? And what role, if any, will you choose to play in this evolving landscape? Keep those questions in mind as you keep learning, and until next time, happy diving.